budget and are approved, January 1, we're not writing a check to anybody necessarily until we get to that point and everything else is signed off on, because without the interlocal, we couldn't do it anyway. And my intent is certainly to bring, as we get all of those pieces done, bring them back to the council so that you've got, clearly a say in a helpful direction in how that's put together. And then, as I noted, culminating in that interlocal agreement, which should, if everything goes the right way, should be the last piece of everything that's put together, because really it binds the entire entity. So most likely there wouldn't be an ask for dollars until probably late spring at best. So at that point, it may not even be $50,000 if we're talking about 2011. It may be some portion of that. It may be, who knows what, depending on where the part is there. Not to say that the organization may not come back, and we may ask each individual council and the port commissioners themselves of still funding that amount to allow some seed and some cushion into something for operating, but still yet to be seen where that's going to come from, but not something that we're necessarily looking at expending $200,000 in 2011 at all.
The only thing I want to add to that is that what I like about this is that we actually have a hand in control of the operation of how this is done. And I think I heard some of that earlier when we started talking about the ambulance. Gee, it sure would be nice to have our hand in that, kind of direct it along, but we don't. We simply are, we provide them with funds and they operate it the way they see fit. And within reason, I'd like to have my hands in that operation and see if there's some way to turn that around, but that's just a wish. But at least here, we have a chance to dictate some policy, where if the port did it all on their own, you're at their whim.
Paul?
I was just going to add, I think there's some misapprehension about the role that CREDC has played. Fisher Investments was brought to Camas by CREDC. So was Logitech, so was, and I can never remember whether it's Light Fleet or Light Speed, which is Light Fleet, which is the next building over. And those are only the most recent ones. There's a whole lot of that up there that came originally to Camas, was initially referred to Camas by CREDC, and I don't want to in any way diminish the tremendous credit that Paul Dennis and his staff deserve for what's happened up there. But CREDC has been, in many ways, a catalyst for that whole development up there. And they continue to, according to Scott Walster, who's the planning director for the port, they continue to provide almost weekly leads for the port. The problem for the port right now is that they don't really have much in the way of inventory to offer, either in terms of existing buildings or in terms of shovel-ready sites. So Scott was very insistent on making the point to me when we had coffee that CREDC has done very, very well for Chico, and that just because there are all kinds of reasons that kind of work is kept beneath the surface. But CREDC has worked very well in the past, especially for Camas, for large recruitments, but also for the port.
Well, and they finally, I shouldn't say finally, we have a recent local example in our own spot as well. The St. Cobain building and properties were purchased within the last month, and that buyer was introduced to the port by CREDC as well. So
that was my next question to Joanne, is I don't want to know who, that's proprietary, but Are they a player out here? Do they help us? They would contact your office.
Yes.
Okay. Be politically correct, that's fine. But yeah, okay, cool. It's hard to, you would have to say the last 5 projects, you'd have to identify, because I couldn't tell you what the last ones were that CREDC is.
Yeah, had a hand in. Other budget items, other questions? Dave?
Budget item on the wellness. So glad you're here, Jeanette. I didn't get a chance to get this to you earlier. Do we have a wellness account that funds fitness club memberships?
Yeah, actually, the fitness piece comes out of the individual department budgets. What the city provides is up to $20 per month for an employee to be a member of a fitness club.
How much is it?
$20 a month.
$20 a month?
Yeah.
And if, is that part of the requirements of the 2% reduction on the wellness award that we get?
It certainly is one of the criteria that we could check off that we do offer that to employees, yes.
So is that a mandatory requirement?
No, it's one of many criteria that we have to, or we can meet. We have to meet certain criteria that is mandatory. I don't believe that is, but it certainly goes a way to meeting the,
Can you tell me how many employees take advantage of that?
I don't know off the top of my head. Jen, do you know? I probably have to get back to
varies
you.
by department, since it is
Yeah.
at the department level budget.
Right. I'd have to check with Rodney and come back to you on that. 'cause I
If,
don't know off the top of my
if
head.
I could jump in for just a second, Dave. Typically, the way that the wellness programs are graded is, I don't have exact numbers, but you have to meet 5 out of 8.
I see.
And then, in addition, there's a score that's calculated from a long list.
Okay.
So it's, when you say it's not mandatory, it's not, but it's on the list.
It's, okay. You need so many to make it.
Right, exactly.
And we could certainly get you the numbers, Dave. I don't
Well, I-
think it's a big number, though, because I've got to sign off, they've got
I
to,
wouldn't bother the staff for that because it's not a big number.
no,
If you took 80 people times 20, you're talking about $1,600.
and it's nowhere near,
No.
I'd be surprised if it's 20. You've got to put in for the reimbursement is what they do through a expense voucher, and I require that I sign all of those regardless who they come from. And I don't sign very many for gym reimbursements.
Yeah.
This being said, though, I am amazed at the level of benefits that the city provides. And I think that's one of the reasons we're experiencing the budget hardships that we are now. Thanks.
There's some pieces. Other items from council? Budget items? Okay, let's get into some agenda bill stuff. It's only 8:20. Community development.
Yes,
Joanne?
my agenda bill is a request that you will authorize the mayor to sign a professional service agreement with Wallace Engineering. This is for the 2011 engineering services. I do want to note that the rates have remained the same for 2009, 2010, and 2011. And that the majority of this cost is actually revenue neutral because it's to review development plans and then we bill back the developer for that.